Good evening, everyone. So we've made it. We're at 1 million, but now we are chasing 1.2 million as our bonus goal so that we can invest in all of the different work that Seed does all over the country, in London, in Manchester, in Leeds, all the fantastic work we do with the young families. And the amazing thing about these campaigns is that every single donation, no matter how big and no matter how small, makes you a partner in all of the work that Seed does. And we are just extremely, extremely grateful to each and every person who has donated so far. We really appreciate it. It's with genuine appreciation. These campaigns can sometimes be a little bit impersonal just because of the magnitude of them, but literally every single individual donor, every donation means a lot to us. We genuinely appreciate it, so thank you. But we're carrying on. Anyone who hasn't donated yet, or even if you have donated, please dig deep. Let's make it. We're going to try and make our 1.2 million. Now, we've got a very, very, very special treat tonight because we have somebody who is literally one of the most sought after speakers in the entire world, at least in the Jewish circuit, I must say. And his name is Rabbi Yossi Ben Susan. And Rabbi Yossi Ben Susan is somebody who is literally an expert in dealing with teenagers. There's quite a lot of confusion about which Ben Susan is which. Ben Shushan, maybe, I'm not sure. We'll talk about that in a second. But which Ben Shushan is which? So I believe this is the drug dealer Ben Shushan. I think that's the case. This is the drug dealer Ben Shushan. He is so sought after. He writes a column in the Mishpacha magazine. He is an incredible lecturer in terms of motivation. But there's an amazing thing about all of the Ben Shushans, and I looked up Rabbi Yossi a little bit beforehand, and there's something remarkable about them, which is they don't just share humor, which they have, a lot of fun, which they have, but there's some real Torah content there. There's some real depth. There's some real spirituality. There's some real insight. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Rabbi Yossi Ben Susan. Is it Ben Susan or Ben Shushan, Rabbi Yossi?
It's whatever you want it to be.
No, I'd like to know what you would like it to be, because I don't want to be rude.
It's interesting. In Morocco, so it's a very, very common name. My grandmother was Ben Shushan and my grandfather was Ben Susan. And my father, coming over to America, felt that it was easier for Americans to pronounce Ben Shushan. So he went with Ben Shushan.
Okay, good. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rabbi Yossi Ben Shushan, who I must add one more point. He's so sought after that he flies around the country. And as a result of that, we almost didn't have Rabbi Yossi tonight, but Baruch Hashem, we've managed to have Rabbi Yossi. So handing over to Rabbi Yossi Ben Shushan, please, will you inspire us?
Thank you so much, Rav. Thank you so much. It is to say it's an honor to be here for something like this. The Rav, everyone involved over here in Seed knows where I'm from, and they know my rabbis, and they know where I was trained and where I learned and everything. So they understand why where I come from, speaking to this crowd, speaking to you guys is the highest level of honor for me. So last night at about 12 o'clock, I come home, 12 a.m. I come home, and my wife says to me, "You're home?" Right. That's always how my wife says hello to me. No, by no fault of hers. She says, "Are you home?" And I said, Yeah, I'm home. And we sat down and we're talking. About 20 minutes after that, I got a phone call. About an hour and 15 minutes after that, I was airborne. We were already flying, and then our connecting flight got delayed. And not when I say we, I don't mean me and my wife or my wife and I mean me and my team, and we got delayed and everything, and then so that's why I'm sitting here in a car in the middle of New Jersey. Just letting you guys know. Normally, I have a whole beautiful background of books that I haven't read, but they sit there so that you believe I have. It just adds legitimacy to people thinking I know what I'm talking about. Now, here we go. So we're in a tremendous time of the year, tremendous throes of the year. This is as big as it gets. What we're dealing with is, because in Judaism we tremendously believe in focus. So if you were to break up the Jewish calendar and focus on it, you'll see one of the greatest schedules that a human being can use to work on themselves. I mean, if you're not following this calendar, you have to realize what you're missing. And I mean, even the harder days, right? Everyone's going to celebrate Purim. Everyone wants to celebrate Passover. Everybody wants that, right? Because those are fun. There's so much fun to be had over there. But certain ones of the other ones, right? Yom Kippur, no one wants to be involved on Yom Kippur. It's like, it's a clock checking. It's what I like to call a clock checking holiday. It's how quickly is this going to be done, right? How much longer are they going to be holding me here? So, however, if you were to follow these times of year, they're incredible. So even on, like, for instance, something like a Yom Kippur. What's a Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is that I retake stock of everything I've done for the past year. I just take a whole 24 hours and I focus on it, and I don't allow myself any distractions, not my phone, not food, nothing. I'm completely void of distractions, and I sit and I just hyper focus on the growth that I had from last year to this year. A few weeks before that, I take on Rosh Hashanah, right? We have all these that we can go through. It's a full series of classes if you're going to do each one. And you realize that you could go through, right? It used to be back in the day. So when we're talking about something like Kiruv or something like that, so in Israel, right, people would show up all the time. I remember hearing stories when I was a kid in the 80s, 90s even, people showing up to Israel being like, I'm lost. They would have all these celebrities showing up saying, I'm lost. I've gained this tremendous amount of success in my life. I've gained this very high level of whatever it was, but I'm lost. I'm empty. My my old job was working in a yeshiva called Or Sameach in Israel. My job was to dispute or discuss with the angry atheists. So there's different types of atheists in the world. They're the ones that came in peacefully to discuss. They would send to Rabbi Gottlieb or some of the more knowledgeable people. The ones that were angry, they sent to me mainly because I'll tell them jokes. I will calm them down before we get inside to the conversation. So, but in our staff, there was a Rabbi Sinclair that was there, and I remember him speaking one time. He was the producer of a band. I don't know if you guys heard of a band called Queen. You probably heard of it. They originated in you can't see my hand when I do that. They originated in your end of the world, on that side of the pond. And one of the things the UK did right, aside from America. Okay, so one of the things that was very they had Queen and the like, and he was a producer also, I believe, of the Rocky Horror Picture Show and many other things. Very, very successful in Hollywood. And he said one day he was driving in his Bentley. There was only about one of 50 of these Bentleys made in the whole world. And he was driving in his Bentley on his way to eat a fabulous steak dinner. And he looked around and he realized that everyone was staring at him. People knew who he was. Everyone was staring at him. And he realized, I needed to make a change in my life. All these people are looking at me as if I have the answers, as if I'm successful. But I didn't feel anything. I achieved this very high level of success, but inside I was devoid of everything. So people used to show up to Israel all the time like that, and they used to be able to find themselves and find their place and find their spirituality and find out their purpose of life and find out. Nowadays, there's been a tremendous dip in people showing up in that search of themselves. And I personally believe there's a very big debate over why. I personally believe it's because back in the day, 80s, 90s, 70s, a person could only be distracted for X amount of time of their life before reality set in, and they had to decide, what is it that I'm doing with myself? What is it that I am? Who am I? What have I done? What do I do? They realized that they can only be distracted for X amount of time. Nowadays, I truly believe a person can be distracted for forever. They could just stay that way till the day they die. With modern technology and everything else that we have going on, they could be distracted forever. If you would have told a person a few years ago that they could sit on something like YouTube for 5-6 hours, not even realize it go by. I'm talking about children here. not even realize it go by, and never get bored of it because there's always something else to jump to, because it's real life to them. Instagram, all these things. They're able to, and this isn't even like Jewish, by the way. I'm not even rabbiing you yet. This is just the world as a whole. How we're able to be so distracted for so long, for so forever, that so people don't know to work on themselves. We have this gift called the Jewish calendar that allows us to know, that allows us to rethink. We have to sit there and say, wait a second. I have to remove all distractions. What am I doing? What difference am I making? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I for real? What does that mean? Who am I for real? What about me is actually me, and what about me is just a compounding of all the things that I've seen, whether it be in my life, whether it be through trauma, whether it be online, whether it be through all these apps, whether it be, what did I decide that this suit looks good, or did some designer tell me that? Did I decide that I need to vacation there or go there or do this or do that? What have I decided for myself? What have I done for me? Focus is one of the main things that we have lost nowadays. I mean, even take a fundraising campaign. You have a program, an organization that puts themselves out there to interact with families, the likes of which we do not see anymore nowadays. People are even suspect when they first find out about an organization like this. They're like, I'm sorry, why are you coming to my family and talking to us? To help? Yeah, you're suspect. No, you're not. There's no way you're trying to help. And then as time goes, they're like, wait a second, this guy's really like, he's just available and he's here and he's talking to us and he's only interested in our spirituality and our growth. What is he gaining from this? He's making, I don't know who it is or how, because we're not paying. I don't know who it is or how, but this guy's making a fortune. And you go and you see, he's not. So what is he doing? An organization like that, back in the day, people would just rally to try to support it. Now we have to get you to focus on like 24 hours, 36 hours. Like, just for the next day, pay attention to the fact that gratitude dictates you should give back. That we need your help, because if we were just be like, listen, some point in the year, when you sit down to reallocate your funds and realize how much money did I spend on a burger, how much money did I spend, doing how much money every month is just taken out of my account for something I signed up for. I'm talking about me here, by the way, not even you guys. How many, I'm yelling at Yossi Manchujan right now. How many times do I see on my credit card a charge? It's like, $5, right? A charge in pounds is like £5, I think. I think you guys caught up to us. Yeah. Everyone's economy is in the toilet. It doesn't matter anymore. So like, in the loo. I forgot. You have $5 a month that's being taken out of your account. You're like, is that something? It's like some weird thing. I think I signed up for that once. I don't even know what it is anymore. I'll try calling them one day to try to get them to stop that charge. But I mean, $5 to spend an hour on the phone with these guys, it's just not worth it for me. And we just let these things slip through. And we just lose value. We just lose value. So we take a time to sit and think, wait a second, what am I doing? What am I doing? And realize, by the way, it's a good point to make, I feel, in general. If you were to just go through your funds right now and realize, if I stopped, having that extra thing, that extra thing that I really, really, really don't need to even notice that it's in my life. And I were just to take that money, that $5 a month, that $10 a month, that whatever it is, and give it to an organization that I have so much gratitude for, how much difference can I really make? This is someone who's taking themselves seriously. That's someone who is following our calendar really, growing through our calendar. This time of the year, what our calendar is dictating to us, what in my opinion is the perfect self-development calendar to use. What it's dictating to us is what we call in Hebrew, in scholarly terms, bein adam lechavero, the mitzvot, the relationship of man to man, person to person, person to person, our interpersonal relationships. What are we working on now? My beard is not usually this wild, if you will. And the reason it is because we don't shave. The Orthodox don't shave for X amount of time over the course of it, right? From Passover to Shavuos, a lot of people hold, but till hopefully the end of this week, because the thing's killing me. We don't shave. Why? As a sign of mourning. Why are we mourning? We're mourning a period in time. It's beyond our scope of today to really go into the details here, but we're mourning a period of time that we forgot the importance. We forgot the importance of interpersonal relationships. How? Well, there were a bunch of students of a very big rabbi, and they made fun of each other. They weren't respectful to each other. And when I say not respectful to each other, I don't mean they were bullying each other online. That's so much worse. Legitimately, I'm not making a joke about that. Really. They weren't causing each other to commit suicide, which is happening left and right. They weren't going to that extreme. They weren't embarrassing each other in public. They weren't doing that. They just weren't showing the proper respect to each other. That's how sensitive we are. That's how sensitive we are. I remember. Is anyone else hearing that but me? Is everyone okay? That was not. Wow. It's a stop sign, guys. You gotta. Come on. So okay. All right. We have a bunch of people outside of my car now that just realized who I am and what I'm doing in here, and they're waving. Hi. Okay. Hi, everyone. So, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, right. So, our interpersonal relationships. I remember one of my rebbeim one time telling me that the reason that we cover the bread Friday night when we're making kiddush, when we're sanctifying the Shabbat with the wine, so we cover the bread. He said, why do we cover the bread? We cover the bread. So he said there was a person at his Shabbat table, and the person knew nothing about religion, nothing about Judaism, nothing. And he was asking him, so what's with covering the bread? He said, we cover the bread so that the bread's not embarrassed, because normally the main staple of a meal is the bread. And now we're paying attention to the wine first, so that the bread's not embarrassed, so that the bread doesn't feel bad. We cover it. Now, as he was saying it, I immediately started laughing. I knew that it was true. That's why we do it. But for some reason, when he was saying it, it seemed really weird. Sensitivity to bread? Does anyone else know that right after that kiddush is done, we tear that bread apart and chew on it? It's sensitivity towards the bread? It seems like a very extreme idea. And the answer is, yeah, you're right. You're right, it is very extreme. And covering it is weird. But we're weird. We are. We're odd. You know why we're odd? Because we care that much. Because I want to be sensitive. There are stories of big rabbis of previous generations that when they were done with their shoes, when they needed a new pair of shoes, they would take their shoes, they would take their old pair of shoes, they would put them in the new pair of shoes box that it came in, or its container that it came in, and they would either bury it or respectfully put it into the trash or respectfully give it away. Or why? These shoes have served me very, very well. Very well. How can I just throw them in the trash like that? Just throw them out. Remember, I was in camp one time, and it was a Sephardic camp. And beyond our scope of today to really explain the difference between Sephardim and Ashkenaz, the rabbis and I were discussing it a few minutes ago. A superbly racist part of the difference, but still a difference. And this one boy, he lost his sweatshirt. He had a hoodie. He lost his hoodie in camp. A jumper. Thank you. He lost his jumper in camp. And his mom came and she said, okay, go back inside and get it. He's like, Mom, it's just a jumper, whatever. We'll get a new one. And I'll never forget this old Sephardi lady. I guess it was probably more his grandmother. It couldn't have been his mother's lady. She was old. Is an old Sephardi grandmother who clearly came, you could tell by the way she was talking, she was speaking to him in Arabic. And, she came from the old country. She started yelling at him. And she said, and she was not dressed, by the way, as an ultra-Orthodox religious woman, right? She was not, and she probably wasn't even. But there's certain things that we as Jews, it's so much more important It's so much more important than you wearing the right kippah, than you wearing the black hat, than you wearing this. It's so much more important. These are what we call paparot l'chachma. These are the spices that make the meat taste good, but it's not the meat. The meat for us. She starts yelling at this kid, and she says to him, "You, what we call a kafoi tov, you ingrate. That sweater served you so well. You're going to leave it on the floor in the gym? You're going to leave it on the floor in a classroom in camp? That sweater has served you so well. Where's your appreciation?" The kid went running inside, and he got his sweater. But that's how we are nowadays. If I lose a thing, it's not worth it. It's not. I'm not telling you to become a miser over your possessions. What I'm saying is that our sensitivities have to become on such a high level. We need our sensitivities to be in such a special place. We're what we call a light unto the nations. We need to show the world what sensitivity is. I was working with a friend of mine in our Sameach once, and this is when I believe Syria had so many refugees that were just stuck on a border and no one was taking them in. And he said, "I believe Israel should be the place to take them in." So really, the Syrian refugees, that's a dangerous statement to make. It's a dangerous idea. Politically, that would have been a dangerous move. And he said, "Yeah, maybe. But we're the ones who are supposed to show the world what sensitivity is. We're the ones who are supposed to go out there showing everyone what sensitivity is." This leads us up. These days of awe and sensitivity, of us working on sensitivity, leads us up to what we call the greatest revelation in history. To Mount Sinai, to Har Sinai, to when we received the Torah, to when we became the Jewish nation, to when God married us, we say, to when he said, "It's me and you forever. You are my beloved." We work on that because we know one thing. If there's one thing we know that we received from Har Sinai, we received from on high, it was this. If we are nothing, it's because we're not together. If we are nothing, it's because we are. Nowadays, more than ever, this is one of the things that we need to work on so deeply. So deeply. When we went into Corona, when we had to go into our homes, when we had to go into quarantine, it didn't matter where you davened. It didn't matter what you subscribed to. Everyone was a Jew. Everybody was a Jew. They quote Rameir Lau as having said that Hitler was one of the only people who understood what being a Jew meant, because he didn't discriminate. You're all Jews. You're all brothers. You're all together in this. So you're all going to die together. Took a dark turn at the end there, but the fact of the matter is we're all Jews. And we all need to connect. And one more very important point. The reason that we need to be so connected, the reason we need to be so into each other and respectful of each other and connected to each other is this idea. Is this one major idea? We all represent. There's a famous very holy Kabbalist who once said that we're all a break-off, the Arizal HaKadosh, the Ari HaKadosh. He said we were all a break-off of the original soul that was sent down to the world. All of our souls are connected in the way that we're all an original break-off of the original soul that was only one soul. Whose soul was that? Adam. Adam Rishon. Adam was the first soul that was sent down. And we're all a break-off of that soul. Now, Adam was supposed to be the person to go around and do everything. He was going to fulfill the world with everything that it needed, all the light that it needed. And his soul is broken apart into all of us. Most of us can be shining, and it doesn't matter. It's one of the points that, as Rabbi said, I work with addicts. And this is one of the things I find so common, especially among young kids nowadays. They don't think they matter. They don't think they matter. They just, I'm guaranteed, it's not humility. I don't matter. I don't. And his parents will say to me the opposite. They're like, he thinks he's the only important thing in the world. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's just calling out for attention. How many of us walk around every single day believing that we don't matter, that we're unimportant? that what we have to give is unimportant. You're wrong. You have a light that nobody else has. You have a light that is unique to you that no one else can shine from. Only you can provide the world with that. Nobody else. Nobody else. And the guy next to you has a light that no one else has. This is the true cure to jealousy, is realizing this one major fact. Every single one of us has this incredible light. Why are we insensitive to others? Because I can be insensitive to someone else because I don't matter. You shouldn't be taking what I say so seriously because I don't matter. You matter. You matter so much. And until we realize that over these days of caring for each other, until we realize how deeply we matter, how deeply we can affect other people, we can build them up, how deeply we can do that, we're not worthy of accepting the Torah on Shavuot. We're not. We're not worthy of that. We're not worthy of being the light unto the nations until we understand our own greatness and how that can apply to other people. When you have an organization like this, who's taken it upon themselves as their life's mission to go out there and show people why they matter, I don't know a more important cause. It is the cure to these kids using drugs. It is the cure to these kids idolizing an Instagram model, idolizing physicality, idolizing stupidity and materialism. It is the reason that they're going out there is because they don't believe that they matter, and comes in this organization and shows them you're part of the greatest soul ever. Not only do you matter, you might be the only thing that matters. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for being on my trip with me. It's always good to have company. And get out there, guys, and give. If you click that donate button already, click it another 2 times and have me on mind. B'hatzlacha, everybody.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Yossi. Unbelievable. A beautiful, beautiful message that you've left us with. And it's not just true spiritually, as you just said, that every single person matters, but also in one of these campaigns, it's a moshel, it's an analogy for that literally every single donation matters. We're up to 1.05 million now, almost up to 1.05 million. And we're almost a quarter of the way for the bonus round. So we'd like to once again thank every single person that has donated. As Rabbi Yossi just said, every single donation matters. It doesn't matter how big, £1, £2, £3, £5, £10, £100, £10,000. Every single donation matters, and every single donation is going to be matched tonight. So please continue with what you're doing. Please continue supporting us, partnering us, and making miraculous journeys happen. Good evening.